Welcome back to the Explanation Pro. Today I'll recap a horror thriller film called Breaking Spirits. Spoilers incoming. The movie begins with kids getting off the school bus. Holly, the new girl, is the last one off. In school, a group of friends consisting of Michelle, Heather, and Cassidy approaches her to ask if she's the new girl. Holly confirms. Michelle asks if she's an exchange student while Cassidy whispers to Heather that Holly should really have her dress exchanged. Heather reaches for her lock to teach her how to use it. Holly watches them warily. They leave after Heather makes a snide comment about Cassidy having her first red day at Ms. Mills, their teacher for their first subject, class. Heather intentionally gives Holly the wrong direction for their band room. She runs into Principal Garner, who decides to accompany her to her class but leaves as soon as she's at the door. When she enters the class, everyone goes quiet again and Mrs. Morris coldly informs her that she doesn't appreciate her tardiness, to which Holly apologizes. Ms. Mills walks up to Holly to comfort her after noticing the way the girl stares at her peers. She reassures her that things will get better and eventually she'll no longer be just the new girl. The trying hard mean girls consisting of Michelle, Heather, and Cassidy stop Holly before she can leave. After what happened with Heather intentionally giving her the wrong direction to her band class, Holly knows the group's only trouble and tries to avoid them. Michelle calls her a slur word and asks her if they're good at math. Cassidy then does a very rude gesture with her eyes and fingers to make fun of Holly. She attempts to leave again, but Cassidy pulls her back by her arm and Holly complains that they keep touching her. Heather tells her to chill out and explains that they're hoping Holly will help Michelle with math. She stands up for herself and sarcastically comments that she thought that was what Cassidy was for, since she can't think of any reason for them to want to hang out with her. She tells them that they also have popular girls where she comes from, but she doesn't think Cassidy's pretty enough to be one. Losing her temper, Cassidy pushes Holly back and warns her that it isn't over. The three girls continue to harass Holly the next day and Ms. Mills catches Heather showing an intimate video to Holly. She grabs Heather's phone and sends her to the principal's office, refusing to return the phone. During lunch, Michelle and Cassidy tell Holly that Heather got expelled and they hope she's happy about what happened. But Heather slides next to her and informs her that the principal's her dad and she could do anything she wanted and still won't get in trouble. During lunch, Holly finds a weird ball in her lunch. It turns out Cassidy sneaked in some Benoit balls on her lunch and claims that it's her time of the month, which is why it's all red. Holly nearly passes out, but Ms. Mills arrives just in time to assist her. She takes the Tupperware to Principal Garner and informs him that the girls have been messing with her. He agrees that Cassidy will be expelled but refuses to see Heather, his daughter, in the same light. He defends her and denies that Heather will ever do such a thing. Brad gets a call from Holly's school and he informs Cheryl, Holly's sponsor, that she needs to pick her up. They stop by a diner and Cheryl asks if she wanted to talk about it, to which Holly refuses. She gives Holly a cell phone and asks her to call her if anything like it happens again or if she just wants to. She assures Holly that Cassidy's gone and the other girls will stop since Principal Garner told them to, but Holly turns this down and confides that she doesn't think they will. At volleyball practice, the whole team except Michelle welcomes her. After practice, Michelle lets Cassidy into the locker room while she's showering. They take a video of her and upload it to her social media profile. Michelle then tells her that she should be more careful of what she posts online and she quickly checks her account. Embarrassed, Holly runs home and comes across Cheryl, who's home early as well. That night, Heather calls her to continue harassing her and demands that she take back what Cassidy did. Holly refuses and hangs up. The next day, a girl approaches Holly during lunch and introduces herself as Grace. She reveals that she was suspended because she wore a skirt that was below her knee and makes a snide comment that boys can't control themselves whenever they see a girl's knee. They bond when a boy walks by and note that he loved Holly's video. Grace immediately defends her. Grace asks her why Michelle and Heather's staring at her and she tells them that they hate her, which Grace doubts. The two forms an unlikely bond. Grace offers Holly help and promises that she can get them to stop. Holly refuses at first and Grace tells her that that's her problem. She's too nice. She points out that the girls won't stop if she doesn't hurt them. She eventually gives in. Ms. Mills storms into Principal Garner's office because Cassidy's back in her classroom. It turns out Cassidy's parents hired some lawyers and threatened to sue the school if they don't retract her expulsion. Apparently, Cassidy changed her story and claimed that she didn't know what the beads were and that it wasn't period but rather ketchup. Principal Garner admits that he knows it's all lies but can't do anything about it since the school board ruled in favor of Cassidy. Principal Garner instructs her to keep an eye on Holly and report if Cassidy does anything untoward again since that's all they can do. One afternoon, Grace comes home with Holly so they can continue plotting against the three girls. When they get home, Holly introduces Grace to Cheryl, who looks taken aback. She doesn't comment and continues working on her music instead. In Holly's room, the two scheme to create a fake profile of Dylan, Heather's boyfriend, since they noticed Cassidy giving him looks while he was talking to Heather. Grace informs her that they'll make Cassidy believe that Dylan's interested in her and let the rest fall into place. Cassidy falls for the message the two sent and goes to school wearing a micro miniskirt to show Dylan that she's interested. Ms. Mills catches her and Cassidy tries to tell her it's none of her business, but since she's breaking the dress code, she's in trouble. They scheme to take on Heather next. Grace hands Holly a laxative to put on Heather's instrument. It'll melt on her tongue and would drive her to the bathroom urgently. Grace also convinces Holly to continue pretending to be Dylan to Cassidy. She's starting to feel bad, but Grace points out every bad thing Cassidy did to her that didn't guilt the other girl at all. At band class, Heather goes crazy and is hallucinating badly after ingesting the pill. She runs out of the classroom thinking she's on fire. A couple of guards try to calm her down as she's having a breakdown in the hallway. After school, Holly walks away in anger with Grace running after her. She asks what was the pill and Grace admits it's a magic pill. Holly retorts that she could have killed her, but Grace just brushes it off. During Cheryl's big night, Grace pops up to scheme some more. Holly's a lot more hesitant now. She suggests they break into Michelle's house and take a video of her showering instead since they believe she was the one who posted Holly's. She refuses and tells Grace that things are getting out of hand. Holly tries to get her to see reason, but Grace is getting heated as well since Holly's backing out when she's just getting started. Grace storms out. Early Monday morning, Ms. Mills enters the classroom with Dr. Young, a grief counselor, on her heels. It turns out Michelle's parents were out the whole weekend and just found her body when they came home. Cassidy is in shock and refuses to believe the news. Ms. Mills encourages her to talk to Dr. Young. Holly leaves the classroom to confront Grace, who doesn't deny what she did. She believes that it's what Holly wanted too. She just didn't know it. Holly discloses that she'll tell the police, but Grace asks her to think it through since she had no motive, but everybody knows what Michelle did to her. She hands over Grace's phone, which has the video of her doing it. Holly accuses her of trying to frame her, which denies. She only wants reassurance that Holly's conscience won't get either one of them in trouble. Grace warns her that she knows where she lives, to which Holly asks if she's threatening to kill her. Grace denies this but explains that it'll be such a shame if something were to happen to Cheryl, especially now that she's so close to her dream. After watching the video of Grace killing Michelle, Holly gets a notification of a message sent by the fake Dylan profile to Cassidy. Confused, she tries to type but realizes that she's blocked from doing anything else. It's Grace. She's hijacked the fake Dylan profile and is making plans to meet with Cassidy. Scared, Holly begs for her not to do whatever she's planning. She promises to spill the truth, not caring about the consequences for herself, but Grace is sure that no one would believe her. That evening, Cassidy goes to a motel, thinking that she's meeting up with Dylan. She walks up to a room but hesitates when she finds it really dark. A hand comes out of nowhere and covers her mouth with a cloth until she passes out. We find Cassidy next, hog-tied with a blindfold covering her eyes. She freaks out but Grace shushes her. She pulls out a couple of Benoit balls and asks Cassidy to open her mouth, but the other girl refuses. Grace threatens to cut off her breast the same way she did Michelle. In fear, Cassidy finally does what she's told. Grace forces the balls in her mouth, then cover them with tape. When Holly comes to class, everyone is quiet and Dr. Young is back in the room. She looks for Cassidy's set and finds it empty. Heather, on the other hand, is talking to her father, Principal Garner. She's trying to convince him that it's all Holly's fault. She admits that they were bullying her and goes as far as to reveal what Cassidy and Michelle did to Holly in the locker room. She points out that after it happened, suddenly they're both dead. During break, Grace approaches Holly again and reveals that she had fixed the problem by making it seem Cassidy killed Michelle and then herself. The two get into an argument until Holly realizes that Grace told her that she's done. Apparently, since Holly said that Heather didn't really do anything, she decided to back off and knows that Heather wouldn't know how to move forward with her only two friends gone. She then says goodbye to Holly, knowing that the other girl wouldn't want to keep in touch after everything that happened even though she did it all for Holly. Holly has a brief breakdown in the bathroom where Grace was waiting for her. She asks what she's doing when the other girl had promised to stay away, but Grace asks her if she thinks they let Heather off too easily. This was the last straw for Holly, so she searches for Heather. At this point, Heather's suspecting Holly already. She warns her not to come close and Holly reveals that it wasn't her, but Grace then warns Heather that the other girl might be coming for her next. Before cheerleading practice, Grace guns for Heather. She locks the other girl in the cubicle, then releases a live electric wire on the wet bathroom floor. A fellow cheerleader goes back inside since she knows Heather was left alone and finds the other girl's electrocuted body. A month later, things get better for Holly and she has new friends. She decides to talk to Ms. Mills about Grace. She asks Holly how she knew about her since she was a girl she was in high school with. Apparently, Grace killed herself during that time after going through the same thing Holly went through. After volleyball practice, Holly finds a bloodied, bully note posted on her locker and her mind immediately goes to Grace. She whispers the other girl's name and the lights went out with only the emergency light left. It's not Grace's doing but rather Principal Garner, who thinks that Heather was right with her suspicion. Grace appears out of nowhere and tries to stop Principal Garner, but he easily pushes her out of the way. Before he can axe Holly, he's shot by the janitor. It turns out the janitor was Grace's father. He shot Principal Garner with the very gun Grace used to kill herself. Apparently, back in high school, Principal Garner and his friends made Grace's life a living hell because she had turned Principal Garner down. The girls were gonna do the same thing their fathers did to Grace, and Grace knew that that's why she saved Holly. The movie ends with Grace's father and Holly walking away from the crime scene. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.